VYAP is a synonym of growth, and our growth series is a synonym of hope. This pandemic has made us to question the existing practices of work, business, society to innovate, to sustain and grow. The collaboration which was hard to believe yesterday is a norm today, marking the basic instinct of our planet survive and sustain to flourish. We are living in a world where everybody is a customer. We are living in an informed world where customer expectations are not shaped by your own industry. So it's not good enough to be better than your direct competitors. You have to be better than the sources of inspiration who are setting standards to the customers. In our growth series today, to talk on success, growth, and excellence to create new benchmark, hence instilling hope, we have with us a gentleman with power of belief to rejoice in uncertainty, making grounds for opportunities in challenges. We have with us Mr. Vivek Sharma, who is MD of Panasonic Life Solutions India. Vivek, with over 3 decades of experience, has been instrumental in his contribution to FMEG segment. Welcome to the show, Vivek.
Pandaji, welcome to you as well on this Sunday morning, and thank you at the very outset for having accommodated me on a Sunday, because as you know, these days the week is a lot busier than it used to be. So thank you very much for this accommodation.
So we start with our first curiosity. Our first curiosity is, how do you see the growth of FMEG segment in India in the next 2 quarters?
See, if we are to talk of the next 2 quarters, it's very essential to take a sort of a look back, a flashback, if you permit to use Bollywood language. If you see the last year, the first 2 quarters were absolutely copybook. Everything was going well, 15% growth and all of that. It is towards the 3rd quarter of the last financial year, then when we observed, things were going slightly slower than the first half. And it was in January that news started trickling in from China and then onto Spain and so on and so forth. So Jan-Feb was a little bit of a, iffy sort of a period. What brought the curtains down absolutely was the month of March. On 21st, the lockdown was announced. Mm-hmm. And most companies in the FMEG sector, if you look at them, they are not as tech savvy or as consumer oriented as they should be. Our industry is still learning to cope with that, change in mindset. So it is even today that the month of March can be as much as 20-25% of sales for many companies. And out of that 25% of annual sales, the last 10 days could be as high as 15% of annual sales. So for most companies, that last 10-day period knocked off a huge portion of their anticipated sales, and therefore also the profitability that went with it. Mm-hmm. And that's when the shock hit the market. And wherever you went, it was gloom and doom. Mm-hmm. From that period of gloom and doom, I would like to, sort of doff my hat to the entire business community, the entire government machinery. That absolute shocker and that absolute, moment of absolute surprise. From there to where we are now, I think there is a huge change. And if you saw the month of March, followed by April, everywhere you went, you could only see locks. There were no keys around, right? So the production was zero. We virtually produced nothing that month. The factories were locked down. And therefore, that period was a very testing time for all of us. So we took a call that end of the day, the first person we need to look for and look after is our employee. And therefore, the first thing I did is I started a weekly communication to all employees of the company. Every Friday, I would review the week that has gone. And that continued for 2 months till things stabilized.
Mhm.
So we took some very, very important decisions. Decisions like we shall not lay off any employee.
Wonderful.
Decisions such as we will not only maintain the salary levels of our on-roll employees, but we shall also continue to pay full salaries for those who are casual labor in our factory or those who are off-roll salespeople in our company.
Mhm.
As one of the biggest manufacturing companies in India, you can understand that at any given time we have thousands of labor who are not on our roll many times. These are casual labor, temporary labor. Similarly, at any given time, our sales team has about 350 to 400 long arm salespeople.
Mhm.
So the call we took was we will treat them as if they are our own employees, because at this time they need our support, they need our understanding, and they need to feel secure, and they need to have a future to look forward to. We didn't want them to miss out on that. So that is one decision we took. Second decision we took was whatever the government machinery advises,
Mhm.
we will abide by that. There will be no shortcut. We will not try to deviate from the norms set by the government.
Mhm.
Right? And on hindsight, that has paid off very well. Because the sternity with which the government was wanting to respond, when we did it, our employees didn't have any major problems.
Mhm.
Because as a company of our size and scale, in any case, we are process driven.
Mhm.
Our norms are well set. So
Mhm.
all we need to do is a little bit of fine tuning. For example, sanitization tunnels need to be set, and which were not there. But these are minor things, and our employees are one of the most open set of people you can have. So it took the people about a week or so to get acclimatized, adapted, and attuned. And they were all very flexible. They were all very supportive, and therefore we were able to quickly change our gears from a vehicle, as they say, from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. Panasonic Life Solution moved from a state of stationary lockdown to a state of war-type preparedness in a matter of a fortnight. So if you look at the month of May, we could achieve about 80% of sales of May last year. And if you look at June, our June of this year is 11% more than June of last year.
Mhm.
This momentum enthused and excited the entire team, our channel partners, our stakeholders, people who supply to us, our employees of the factory. And you'll be surprised, July was 15% higher than July of last year.
Wonderful.
Not only that, the June of this year is the highest sales in the previous 15 months. So you can imagine that gloom and doom, no more. So things have changed. Now, the first quarter after lockdown, I think things have reached a stage that May and June have equalized the loss of April. And if you look at the period now, July, August, September, and October, November, December,
Mhm.
my guess is that India, in any case, is a very resilient, very futurist, and very open and very happy nation at large. Right? You see, Indians are not a rich nation, but you walk on the street, right? Our streets are very different from the streets of New York or Tokyo or London, right?
Mhm.
There you see, you look around, people are serious and morose. Our people have life. They smile. Because we are a resilient nation.
Mhm.
And if you add that to the situation I just described,
Mhm.
I certainly feel that the year 2021 is going to be a memorable year. I don't see any gloom or doom.
Mhm.
I'm seeing that the tunnel is nearing its end, and the light at the end of the tunnel is brighter than when we entered the tunnel.
Mhm.
And in any case, the tunnel was not of our own making. So I
Mhm.
think all of us have to look at it in that perspective.
Mhm.
The fact that the tunnel was not of our making, right?
Mhm.
The fact that we have responded well, the fact that everybody has understood,
Mhm.
it has been a fight of all of us together against a common enemy.
Mhm.
And when you have what is called in India Jazba and Junoon like that, There's only one thing, and that's victory. I am very confident, and I'm almost certain that we shall come out victorious. The future is bright. We have a young nation. We have a nation of people who are very aspirational. We are creative. We are innovative. And we have a lot of thinkers now. If you look at the new generation, look at the energy level that people have. I think this gloom and doom is the past. The worst is behind us, and the future beckons us with a lot of, welcoming, and we must look at it in that perspective.
My second curiosity is, what are the opportunities created by the pandemic in the FMEG segment, and what transformations are required to excel in this changing landscape?
You are speaking about the industry at large.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, if you see the current scenario and you start crystal gazing into the future, the world that was, the world that is, and the world that will be are as if you are on three different planets. Right? The COVID has put that shock element. Right? But if you look at it positively, what it has done is it has catalyzed a lot of us. It has catalyzed a lot of technologists. It has catalyzed the way of working. And the way of working that comes in the future is going to be different. That will bring a lot of different technologies to the forefront. That will bring a different mindset. It will bring a different world altogether. So, to answer your question, if we were to consider what are the segments that will grow, what are the technologies that are going to come to the forefront, and what are the changes we have to bring in our working, I think that's what we are all working on now. To share with you, for example, physical touch is going to be minimal to begin with, right? People are scared of bacteria and fungus and virus. So a lot of products that help sanitization, that minimize touch, that are antibacterial will come into play. To share with you, we have just launched a series of products where the switches are antibacterial. Right? It's not that the product was invented after COVID. The product existed. But believe me, it didn't have takers earlier. So what we have done is we have repackaged and focused on that core benefit of that product and given it a sort of relaunch. And the media we have used to promote it is not television, it's not newspaper, right? It's internet, it's LinkedIn, it's YouTube, right? And the way the youngsters and the people on these channels are responding, the product is being lapped up. So in the switches category, switches such as this, wiring devices, where antibacterial minimum touch will come in, you will also see the rise of home automation in a big way. Right? Home automation also, apart from minimizing touch, it's also about convenience. It's also about a futuristic lifestyle. And all of us in India look at the future as it is ours. And of course, with a young country, the future is ours.
Correct.
So people want futuristic gadgetry. The films they watch are also, they have a futuristic element to it. So a lot of products now, like we are conversing, for example, MS Teams, or for example, Zoom, right? And GeoMeet. All technologies are coming up.
Correct.
What COVID has done, and we must thank COVID, if you ask me, it has catalyzed and speeded up the process. Changing mindsets, speeding up the process of technologies. Earlier, we were probably on second or third gear. It has taken us straight away into the fifth gear. And so you see a lot of these coming. For example, if you look at technologies, right, where food kit supplies. That technology is going to be a technology of the future. You go to the US today, there's a company called Blue Apron, which has already become a rage. And why I'm saying a rage is from a $2 to a $15. The share price has, multiplied 7 times in just 6 months. So people are also lapping up new technology. So coming back to our industry, home automation will be key, right? Minimal touch, antibacterial switches and wiring devices will be key. The third thing that will come in a very big way is air purification and air quality. A lot of Indians have been educated on water quality and water treatment. Right? What we have often ignored is air quality and air treatment. So air purification, indoor air quality, all of this will come big. And that is where a company like Panasonic will bring in technology that not only helps you to cool the air, but also purify it and bring it to a certain level, which is the acceptable norm worldwide. So people spend a lot of money these days, to do up the ducting of the house for air conditioning. So while that is done, indoor air quality treatment, ERV system, that is absolutely the need of the hour. Similarly, if you look at it, we have a lot of excitement about our EV charging business, right? You have technology available now where a 115-seater bus can charge its batteries in 25 seconds.
Wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, these are the technologies that are going to come to the fore, right? Of course, the products which are in the works, like ROHS, certified wires and cables and all of that, that will come. But since your question, I think, is specific to the post-COVID world and how our industry is going to adopt or adopt the technologies and adapt itself to the future, I think these are a few of the examples I can give straight away. And this is just the trailer. Picture abhi baki hai though. Things are really going to improve. I am very positive. And all the constituents of our industry, be it the channel partners, right? Be it the different ECM industry manufacturers, the sales people, everybody is taking to this change very fast.
Okay.
So, in the period of the last 3 months, we would have conducted on media such as MS Teams, almost 3,000 training programs.
Wonderful.
And almost 30,000 channel partners and close to 2,000 salespeople, both on company, off-roll and channel partners, have been trained on the new technologies, how we can use it, how they can train others, and how the adaptability for use can be accelerated.
Our third curiosity is, do you see a consolidation of business happening, or you think there is a great scope of the emergence of new players? And what kind of direct and indirect employment opportunities would this generate?
You see, this question you have raised is a sort of a latent question, right? But it's a very loaded question. Why? Because as I said, what the world was, what the world is, and what the world will be is different. The way companies are responding to this scenario is also different. And sad to say, the smaller players are finding the going very, very tough. Right? Be it the cash flow issue, be it the manpower issue, be it the technology issue, be it the supply chain issue, or be it the simple issue of mindset and willingness to change. Whichever way you look at it, the smaller players are very, very severely handicapped. So your word which you use of consolidation is absolutely right. There will be dramatic consolidation. Right? companies which are unable to adapt and adopt will be wiped out. These brands will cease to exist. Right? Loaded with the fact is that despite the government giving support, from the financial sector, the fact is the government can go this far and no further.
Correct.
Right? So most of these small players will have to bring in more funds. And as I see it, somehow this segment of people is very, very scared or is very, very alarmed about what will happen. So much so they are virtually paralyzed. The byproduct or the side effect of this is that the alacrity and agility which they are required to respond to with this situation, they are not able to do. So, to go to the next step, larger players will become even larger, right? But we should not look at it as a negative development. Because larger players bring more resources, whether it is money, whether it is better machinery for higher quality and consistent quality, whether it is better quality manpower. And most importantly, in the FMEG industry, it is about compliance with the laws of the government. The bigger players pay their taxes, go by the e-way bills, do not fudge their invoicing, and many of them, for example, I would say most of them, all of them, the larger players follow the law. The good thing is, because of this, as we go forward, after this consolidation, it will also be good for the government, because tax collections will go up. Right? So, I look at the entire development as a positive role. So there will be a consolidation on two fronts. Weak companies, weak brands will get sidelined. And if you look at companies with a higher technological base, more innovation, ability to invest, right? Ability to invest with a look and view of the future, those will really go up. So, to give you an example, and sort of a interesting example, you see, in the past, when we used to speak to our salespeople, that you should have higher efficiency and effectiveness when it comes to college and dealer calls and all of that. So we would say you can definitely do 20 calls, out of which you will have 75% efficiency and 50% effectiveness. So there always is a bit of table tennis. No, how can 20 calls be made and so on and so forth. Now, what has happened is, in post-COVID India, when you take care of your employees, as we did, we not only gave increments and salary continuity to our people, also, as I said, to the long run. What the people have realized is, look, the company is taking care of us. The customer wants material. How is it that we can do something to ensure that the company gets the advantage of the opportunities available? So our people have been creative. What they have done is, on their own, as you know, all salespeople have the telephone numbers of all their customers.
Correct.
So sitting at home, right, 9 o'clock in the morning. Normally, if we was in the pre-COVID world, the shops open at 11 o'clock.
Correct.
Now, post-COVID, 9 o'clock, our friends will call their channel partners. And channel partners have been home for 3 weeks. So they are also bored. So they are happy to get calls. So our sales people, our long arm people, start at 9 o'clock and talk to all these channel partners. So what is happening is, some of them are making 40 calls, some of them are making 45 calls. Now, not all companies are attuned to this sort of working. So what has happened is, out of 45, sometimes 40 calls are productive. The dealer says, yes, I want material. Can you arrange it to me fast? So orders are taken on phone and passed on to the distributor, who delivers the same day or the next morning. So 45 calls, 40 are productive. Out of that, effectiveness is 75%. The world has changed.
Correct.
This is also part of consolidation. And this is what has resulted in our growth of 15%, which I spoke to you earlier.
Yeah.
So going forward, the person, the team, the company, the brand, or the country for that matter, which adapts and adopts technologies and becomes ready for the future, they are the people who are going to benefit. And I think as Indians, our Prime Minister is really talking positively. And he is the only international leader whom I see when he speaks. He is not looking defeated, right?
Very
so
true.
I think his confidence is coming on the back of all of us Indians, as I spoke to you. So I think we owe it to ourselves, our country, and our future generations that we must continue this positivity, this sense of hopefulness, this sense of expectancy, and the sense of capitalizing on the opportunity.
Great.
People say that Zindagi milegi na dobara. I will say opportunity milegi na dobara. Why don't we cash on it now? That's the way I would look at it. And that's what I speak always to my team and my colleagues and whoever cares to listen to this message.
Okay. So you talked about that how it's very important to probably make a new landscape by the bigger players and to make a new ecosystem where the bigger players can continue to ensure that they give bigger employment, they give better future to our society, to our country, and to a world as a whole. And you also talked about that in this kind of disruption, obviously the bigger player have good amount of resources to actually build the platform, to actually take up the opportunity and make a way for even other players as well, may not be only limited to them. You also talked about how it is important that in this kind of a pandemic, the kind of good work which is done by organizations as a whole to ensure that they give salaries in time to the people, it has also ensured that ownership of the employees have doubled or tripled. And if I'm not wrong, in last quarter, a few percent of sales has happened because of this ownership from the people itself, those who work for the organizations. And you have put it very well. You have put it in a very fantastic way. Vivek, my next question is
before you go to the next question, just a small interjection. I am not suggesting that we have to build an ecosystem that favors big players. No, I'm not for it. Because whoever is big today began small. All I'm saying is give everybody a level playing field. Everybody should play to the same rules. The efficient, the effective, and the innovative will survive. So it's not gloom and doom for small players, because some of them are beginning to realize that if they don't react and respond appropriately now, they'll get wiped out. So there are black sheep, there are white sheep in every segment. I am not recommending or suggesting build an ecosystem which supports big players. No. Support everybody, give a level playing field, right? Look at the interest of the consumer, the country, and look at the benefits it can bring to all.
Yeah, so that's
no support and no extra benefit for big players.
Yeah. So that's what I talked about, an ecosystem for all the players to grow, whether big or. So going forward, my fourth curiosity has to do with you as in person. And in the last three curiosities, you have been, very open about the kind of people you work with, or this industry work with. You have been very open about, the innovation, and you have been very open about what are the opportunities this particular pandemic has created for a segment as a whole. But as a leader, we also believe that we are magnets of talent, as you say. So what advice would you like to share with budding leaders and entrepreneurs from experiences of your life?
So, as I said earlier, you see, leaders in society, in whichever field, whether it is politics or business or sport, most of the time you see, while the leader is a contributory factor. He has no free lunch. But the leader is not always doing all the jobs.
Correct.
In fact, he may not be the best player or the best person with the highest output. Right? So what do leaders do? Basically 4 or 5 things. You see, we are basically what I like to call magnets of talent.
Yeah.
If I'm a good leader, I acquire good credibility. There is positive word of mouth. So people would like to work with me. Not because I'm great, but because part of that word of mouth is that this gentleman or this manager, he allows you to do your job.
True.
And doesn't get in your way. Things like that. So we tend to get that positive baggage. And people want to come to work with us. So one is we are leaders of the company. We are leaders and we are magnets of talent. And talent is a resource. There is a war for talent amongst companies. So why does company A do well and company B do averagely and company C goes downhill? Because they have good leadership. Because the leader attracts better quality talent. Right? So that's first and foremost, the leader's job is to attract talent. Attracting talent and making sure the talent stays. You can't attract talent and then jettison them. Right? So attracting, retaining talent as the magnet of talent. That's the first job of the leader. The second job, if you look at it, is to provide resources. Right? They may need men. Men are also resources, although most people think differently. Men are also good quality resources. Right? So men, money, machinery, they need to provide resources. They need to give a sense of broad direction. This is what we need to do. This is what we can do. This is what we should do. Right? And at the end of the day, give a sort of inputs, analysis. If there is a win, very good, great. This is what you did well, and that's why we got this win. Can we take it to the next level? If there is a loss, no problem. Nobody is perfect. Let's learn, right? And let's then make it into a win the next time.
Correct.
Analysis, giving feedback. If they do well, giving them a box on the back. A pat on the back is now passé. Our youngsters, you give them a punch on the back, they're happy. So, the credit of the win must go to the team. As a leader, one of the things I have followed throughout my life, I will fight my team with passion. I will disagree, I will debate, I will dispute. But when we reach a consensus, it's their way, to the highway. Right? I will never take credit. Because it's not the job of the leader to take the credit. The credit is to the team. He has fought you, he has displayed passion. Either he has got convinced by you or he has convinced you. He has done the job and he has produced results. So he deserves the credit. In my life, I have never ever taken credit. And वैसे हमारी औकात भी क्या है? ऐसा कुछ नहीं, average, very average. तो credit लेने के लिए कुछ है भी नहीं, right? So that is one side of leadership. Now, if you look at leaders, this is what the leader is for. Now, with my team, I have a broad understanding, and it's also part of our company code of conduct. Any activity, any initiative, any process, or any behavior, it must stand the test of 4 things. Number 1, legality. Number 2, ethics. Number 3, compliance. And 4th, but most importantly, the rule of the law. Right from the first time I started working, it was drilled into us that if you take a shortcut to success, that success is not only very short-lived, that success is not worth it. So, as a fresher MBA management trainee, in my very first year, I learned this lesson. and it's sort of deep dived and deep drilled into me. I'm fortunate that I now work for a company which totally ascribes to this theory. So that is second part of leadership. The third part of leadership is, as leaders, we have to make our organization ready for the future. Our job is not to play today's marbles or fight today's shots or score today's goals and capture today's wickets. It's no. We have to plan the future and make sure that the organization is future ready. If you ask me, these are the four sort of, Hindi में इसको बोलते हैं पादान. I would say these are steps up the ladder of leadership.
Okay.
The order you can decide depending on the stage at which your organization is in its evolution. In certain organization you start with one, but eventually in the first four steps you have to have these actions which you need to take, and the philosophy you need to follow. This is my opinion. Since you asked me, I'm sharing with you.
So, but the experiences what you have shared is almost corporate. We wanted to see the other side of you. The other side of you, which is helpful for you to make a bigger success in corporate. We wanted to have some kind of experience from your life which you feel has really helped you to become what you are, because our viewers are more interested in knowing that what are the similarities which you have with a common person, so that a common person can dream enough to become a person like you or even bigger than you.
I have believed that as an individual, if you look at my upbringing, right, came from a very middle class family, and when I say that very middle class, I'm being polite to myself. We are not very well off. The accent always was on being happy, being ethical, right, and always doing right. For example, our parents taught us very early on that what's not yours is not yours. Right? So we got middle class values. And let me be honest, and much as anybody may say anything, or somebody who wants to please me may say anything, but मेरी असली औकात तो मुझे ही पता है, right? And I come from a very average, very middle class beginning. I'm a very average human being. If you look at my academics, I have never stood first in my class ever. Right? Never. But what I did have, because of this middle class education importance ingrained into me, is I have a first class education career throughout. And somehow when I look at talent, hidden in my brain is this guy a first class throughout? Because I'm looking for somebody like me. May not be right. Right? It's not that. So I'm always looking at somebody who's at least a first class throughout. Right? So now you may say this is an average rate. First class throughout is no big deal. People get 93 and 94. I have never stood first in my life. Right? But always a first class throughout. Right? I also believe that if something can be done by anyone, I can also do it. There's nothing, which one should be close to. So the two principles that have been deeply ingrained are can do.
Okay.
And anything is possible. Right? So our parents supported us. They invested in a lot of books. When we were school going or college going, you'd be surprised. We didn't have a cycle. We didn't have a motorcycle. Gaadi, ghoda, sab chhod dete. Right? But they invested in our education. We had the best books. I know of people whose parents were richer, but who would borrow books from the library और उनको 2-3 हफ्ते नहीं मिलता था तो वो फिर दुखी होते थे, हमारी बुक्स में कॉपी करते थे कि बताओ मैं लिख लेता हूँ. But our father, the moment he knew, the first thing he would do is same evening go and buy the book and tell us, brand new book. And one thing he told us, never buy second-hand books. I don't know the right or wrong of it, but he always insisted to buy a new book, right? He felt that when you are opening a new book, it's fresh, it's open, and you are not inheriting somebody's bias. Right? At the same time, he was very careful that we must look after our books with a lot of respect. So these are the sort of values which we grew with. And these have a very strong influence on the way we are brought up. So a lot of what I speak, as we speak, I'm not reading from, I'm speaking extempore. I don't like to read a speech, or I don't like to prepare, because I do feel that the actual connect, the actual value, and the actual weight is when you speak heart to heart and connect eye to eye. That's very important. So I'll answer your question obliquely. This is one way I'm not being direct, but see, leaders are people who can get average people to deliver extraordinary or above average results, or ordinary people to deliver extraordinary results. So that's what we have done. And we have made sure that we follow the practices and principles that we preach. I don't have one set of rules for myself and for the others, right? So if we are traveling on a tour abroad, I will not be in the Mercedes and the rest of the people in the coach. I will be in the coach. Those are the values that we have grown up with. Right or wrong, I won't debate. Since you asked, this is what life is. If you follow the scriptures, our Upanishads, right, and the Vedas, they teach us to be minimal in our approach. You can think big, but you don't need to spend big or invest big, right? You can have small needs. The more minimum your needs are, the less weight on your mind. And the less weight on your mind, the more it can do. So, luxuries are also all in the mind.
Correct.
Luxuries, big TV, how much bigger can the TV get? 32, 40, 45, 55, 90, what next? Right? How big can a car get? You can have a hatchback, you can have a sedan, you can have a luxury sedan, you can have a Mercedes, you can have a Mercedes SUV. How far can you go? Right? And then it brings the feeling of envy, of comparison. And not only do you become a prisoner of it yourself, your children, your wife, right? Your colleagues all become a prisoner. अरे उसके बॉस के पास Mercedes M540 है, आपके पास कौन सी है? How does it matter?
Correct.
So that's another aspect which I like to follow. For example, I don't own a car at all. Why do I need a car? Right? There is Uber, there is Ola. आप बोलोगे लॉकडाउन, तो लॉकडाउन में तो बिल्कुल ही जरूरी नहीं है, घर के अंदर आओ. This week, for the first time in the last 130 days, I went out of home 4 times. 4 times in 7 days. But before that, 130 days, I haven't gone out of my building. We had a shoot for one of our product launches, and I was beginning to look very long ahead. So I thought that since I was to anyway also shoot with you today, I should not look indisciplined or ungroomed. It will not be a good reflection either on me or my company. So I went for a haircut yesterday. So that's why 3 or 4 times in the last 1 week. Otherwise, so that's life. You should practice what you preach.
Yes.
And since normally, they like to end every interview on a humorous note or on a different note, if you permit, I would like to end this interview with a sort of a couplet or a stanza, if you permit.
Please, go on, please.
This is actually a a sort of a Sufi philosophy,
Okay.
which I have adapted and modified. Right?
Yeah.
So it says very simply, जितना दिया मेरे मौला ने, उतनी मेरी औकात नहीं. मेहर है
Wow.
मेरे माँ बाप की, वरना मुझ में कोई बात नहीं.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
जितना दिया मेरे मौला ने,
Mhm.
उतनी मेरी औकात नहीं.
Mhm.
ये मेहर है मेरे माँ बाप की,
Mhm.
वरना मुझ में कोई बात नहीं. So this philosophy, it's a Sufi philosophy.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that when I got married, my wife also, subscribes to this philosophy. And
Okay.
that has been a big support.
Mhm.
So this has helped me, and with continuous feedback. You see, the parents bring you up.
Correct.
Your wives either bring you further up, or they bring you down. My wife has ensured by giving proper feedback, and by her belief in this Sufi philosophy,
Mhm.
that we stay grounded.
Mhm.
And if we stay grounded, right, that's what keeps us in a situation, it keeps us in a mindset
Mhm.
where we are able to receive more inputs, more knowledge, more growth,
Mhm.
and contribute to the well-being,
Mhm.
to the happiness, the
Mhm.
success of our people. That essentially is what God made leaders for, not for anything else. And on that note, I think it's a good time to end this conversation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vivek. It was lovely interacting with you.